I'm sorry, I haven't been able to hear until now, so I missed the first few moments. Is the
Okay,
presentation supposed to begin?
We'll ask for oral communication. This is where persons wishing to address the ASC on items not on tonight's agenda may do so. There's no one in the room. Is there anyone online? Emily?
We have one person online, Rita Combs.
Okay, Rita, go ahead.
Thank you for unmuting the room so that we can hear. Do we have everyone? We don't even know if we have all of the members here or not, because we didn't hear roll call or anything, or the start. But appreciate everyone speaking into the mic so that we can hear, since the system needs to be upgraded and it just hasn't yet. Thank you very much for helping the residents here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. I'll move on to item 3A, architecture and site development review for a new residence, at a bunch of stuff at 389 West Street. Jamie, you want to do a staff report, please?
Yes, just one moment, please. Just need to adjust my slideshow. Let me do this one more time. There we go. Okay, thank you for your patience. The item before you this evening is an architectural and site development review for a new residence, a detached garage, hardscape landscaping, significant tree removal at 389 West Ridge Drive. An 800 square foot state exemption ADU is also proposed. That is not under the purview of the ASCC and is included for informational purposes only. Was there a question? Should I continue?
Continue.
Thank you. The second slide is shows the site, which is located on the south side of West Ridge Drive between Cervantes and Alamos Drive and opposite Boulevard Lane, excuse me. This site has an average slope of 18%. Sloping mainly occurs at the rear of the 3.3 acre parcel, and a drainage channel spans the rear of the parcel. The parcel is located in zoning district RE Residential Estate, RE 2.5, and is part of the West Ridge Homeowners Association, which conditionally approved the proposal on May 6, 2025. Geologic zones on site are SBR, PS, PD, and MS. All soils types that are considered susceptible to landslides are located at the rear of the site, and all proposed structures are located within soils type SBR, which are considered a stable soil type. The existing site, currently, there is a driveway, potentially a retaining wall, although I did not see one when I was at the site visit today, and some fencing that is at the rear of the site. And that fencing is proposed to be removed. The previous residence has been demolished. This site has been vacant for several years and contains several clusters of trees and overgrowth. Easements on site include bridle path easements, both along the front and the rear of the parcel. Utility easements along the rear parcel are also as well, and the eastern parcel perimeter. Drainage easement is located approximately 60 feet inside of the parcel boundary that spans the eastern side of the site, and a PG&E pole line easement that is approximately 60 feet inside of the parcel begins at begins at the northeastern site frontage and travels east for 200 feet on site. Okay. The proposed site plan, the applicant proposes to construct a new one-story, 5-bedroom, 6.5-bath, single-family residence that is 6,432 square feet and a detached garage, gym, and storage area that are connected via a breezeway that is proposed to be 1,486 square feet. The structures and site will be accessed from a new entry drive near the center of the parcel. The structures will be set back approximately 70 feet from the front parcel line and will be situated toward the north and western portions of the site due to the topography and easements located along the eastern portions of the site. The maximum allowable square footage for the site with the 5% bonus is 8,039 square feet. The applicant proposes a total of 7,918 square feet for the main residence and detached garage, gym, and storage area. Walkways, planters, and entertaining areas are proposed that surround the residence. Along the front of the entrance are proposed paver pathways, two planters, or a planter and two freestanding decorative walls and a covered entry are proposed. Along the easterly side of the residence, a spa with outdoor shower, covered porch, artificial turf area, gas fire pit, and landscaping are proposed. The rear of the residence contains two outdoor areas for seating outside of proposed bedrooms and a covered porch area outside of another proposed bedroom. Along the western side yard and a paver walkway with several stairs, which will lead to another outdoor entertaining area, which is also located behind the proposed detached structure, garage structure that contains the gym. The outdoor area contains planters and a trellis as well. The main residence, as I mentioned, the main residence, as I mentioned, is 6 bedrooms, and there are 5.5 bathrooms within the main residence. There's also a bathroom within the gym area. So that's where the total of, hold on, let me just check the total of 6.5 bathrooms being proposed. The residence contains an office with indoor lounge area, open kitchen, dining and living space. There's a pantry, a mudroom, separate family room, and mechanical room within the main residence as well. The garage contains a trash area, 3 parking spaces, and a connected carport for another vehicle. Gym, as I mentioned, bathroom and storage area are also proposed. The proposed roof plan is shown on slide 6 here. To note, the staff report indicates there are no proposed skylights. However, there are 5 proposed skylights that are shown on the roof plan here and listed on sheet A7.1 of the plans. 2 open air elements are proposed as well to allow light to travel through. The open air elements are proposed at the breezeway from the main residence to the garage and above the covered porch area at the front of the residence outside of the office lounge area. At the site visit today, it was observed that there are several residences uphill behind the proposed residence. If the ASCC has concern that light spill may occur from skylights, a condition of approval requiring automatic closures, shutters at night may be added to the conditions of approval. Okay, this is slide 7, which shows the front, sides, and rear of the proposed main residence and breezeway to the garage. Elevations also show 2 proposed 6-foot ornamental gates located between the main residence and the garage to the ADU. At the front of the residence, the applicant also proposes, which I did mention this before, 2 freestanding ornamental stone walls that would be up to 4 feet tall in a 2.5-foot metal planter box and surround for the outdoor. There's also a surround for the outdoor shower area that is 6 feet tall that's attached to the main residence. Retaining walls are also proposed at the front left corner of the residence, along with terraced retaining walls along the eastern side and the rear of the residence. All proposed retaining walls are located inside of the base zoning setbacks on site. The proposed height to the highest roof pitch for the main residence is 16 feet 1 7/8 inches. The maximum vertical height allowed to utilize the 5% bonus is 18 feet vertical and 24 feet maximum height. The proposed structures, walls, and gates comply with the town's maximum height requirements. Slide 8 shows the proposed colors and materials for the project. The roofs are variable height with a modest slope at 1/4 inch per foot. A PVC membrane in gray is proposed for the roof. The exterior siding for structures includes stone cladding accents that match the freestanding stone walls and retaining walls, and smooth stucco finish in gray. Metal gates matching style planters and a trellis are proposed in black metal. Black painted metal trim is proposed for the windows. A wood look front door with soffits for the eaves and covered porches is proposed in a brown wood stained color and concrete walkways are proposed in color silver smoke, and concrete pavers with river rock between are also proposed throughout the site. The project proposes 960 cubic yards of soil movement associated with site development permitting under review by the ASCC. 590 cubic yards of cut is proposed to primarily facilitate the main residence, detached garage, and ADU. 490 cubic yards of additional cut are associated with the new driveway, landscaping, hardscape, and retaining walls. 470 cubic yards of fill is proposed associated with landscaping, hardscaping, and the replacement of the existing driveway. The geotechnical report provided indicates a swimming pool and sports court, which the applicant did not end up proposing or moving forward with. So it may be possible that the overall amount of soil movement is lower than initially indicated. Proposed impervious surface area for the site is 10,879 square feet and includes driveway area, hardscape, walkways, several covered porch and patio areas, and retaining walls. The maximum allowable impervious surface area for the site is 13,770 square feet. 2,891 square feet of impervious surface area remains, which complies with the maximum requirement for the site. Here is the proposed landscaping plan, which consists of 9,163 square feet of new landscaping. Plantings are largely proposed along the front of the parcel and surrounding the proposed structures. Trees proposed as part of the scope of work include 3 blue oak trees and 18 additional native trees of varying species. Recommendations made by the town's conservation committee to site visits were incorporated into the applicant's plans, and the proposal complies with the town's water efficient landscape ordinance. 7 significant trees and 35 non-significant trees are proposed for removal. Removals are proposed due to proximity to the PG&E pole line easement and to accommodate the driveway and grading associated with the proposal. The Conservation Committee visited the site and did not object to the proposed tree removals. The proposed lighting plan is shown on slide 13 and includes 21 can lights that are 530 lumens each. There is no landscape lighting proposed as part of the scope of work. The proposal utilizes minimal lighting for safe movement throughout the site and for the structures. A neighbor comment was received just around the time of public noticing from 151 Cervantes and included as part of the staff report. The neighbor expressed concern related to screening near the southwestern parcel line and potential for glare from several south-facing windows. The applicant provided a response to the neighbor and added anti-glare to 6 south-facing windows. A condition of approval may be added by the ASCC requiring the plans to be updated as part of the building permit submittal, adding the anti-glare to windows 5, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, and 21, which are shown on sheets A 7.1 of the plans. This slide shows the locations of the windows. It doesn't show the numbers as shown on the plans that I mentioned before. So I hope I didn't confuse anyone by this illustration. The applicant also proposed adding an additional coast live oak tree near the proposed blue oak tree at the southwestern portion of the site. However, after meeting with the Woodside Fire Protection District, the applicant is no longer proposing that additional tree since it would not be able to comply with the defensible space requirements to allow for the addition of another tree. The applicant may provide further information in the blue oak tree that's currently proposed. They may end up switching that out for a coast live oak if the size and height are more appropriate, and as I said, the applicant may provide more information following this presentation, and ASCC and Conservation Committee feedback is always appreciated as well. Staff recommends that the ASCC offer additional recommendations if necessary and approve the requested architectural and site development review for a new residence detached accessory structure, associated site improvements, landscaping, and significant tree removal subject to the conditions of approval. The applicant team is available for questions following, and staff is available as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Toby, you have anything to add?
Are you guys gonna ask questions first, or should I do my thing?
Why don't you go ahead?
Do we have a set of plans to pull up? I'll be relatively fast, but might as well just. Possible. If not, I can just give you a few minutes.
Just a moment. I can grab a set of plans.
No worries, Jamie. Thank you. Commissioners, thank you so much for having us here tonight. This is a big milestone for projects. We're hopeful third time's a charm on this site, and we're excited to present the project that we've been this evening. You know, I was first approached by Chris, probably remember, in an effort to move her family out to California. She was able to acquire this property. This owner did not build the house that they had intended. It presented a really remarkable opportunity to develop a great piece of property with a lovely peekaboo view to the south and a relatively we've proposed a one-story project, as Amy has illustrated in her great detailed report, in a contemporary style, very inspired. We've put together a family-friendly home that has adequate space for living and entertaining, as well as providing accessibility for the potential age-in-place that I think the property owners imagine expecting to be for some time. As Jamie described, the siting of the building is fairly straightforward. We're trying to use the house, outer areas of the site, to build this one-story home. As we discussed on site today, we're trying to aim at the driveway in the right place. I've made some trees and have a lovely entry sequence that comes into the building, leading to a pretty nice, I don't know, Jamie, if you want to pull up the floor plan, to a nice entertaining area and structure, which is
Just one moment.
to the south, to the southwest of the property. The living area is flanked by some private spaces. Maybe one more plan down.
Here.
Yeah, that's good enough. I mean,
It's a lighting plan, but
ceiling plan, but there you go. So you can see the entry door is kind of that big door far on the right hand. Leads you in, as Jimmy mentioned, a little entry sequence, a little decorative wall, We come into a nice foyer, kind of leads you into that larger space, couches and the dining table, the kitchen kind of tucked away, nice chef-style kitchen with an adjoining butler's pantry. You can also see at the top of the plan towards the center, the access lodge connecting the two structures. In the lower right-hand corner is the kind of more private space, living area and office, a bit of the professional activities, house, work from home kind of stuff. In the lower left corner are the master bedroom as a nice suite with a bathroom and walk-in closet and facing out view. And then in the upper left of this, the 4 bedrooms that are really intended for the kids and grandkids. To the very top side of the plan, if you can, the site plan on the north side of the garage is our ADU. The ADU is just about 800 square feet, detached structure that also has sleeping, eating, and living quarters attached to it. That will be a nice accessory element to the property and potentially provide some additional housing and rental income for the site. The intent right now is to use that for a third party that may not be really by the family. It's a nice addition. The landscaping's been designed by our landscape architect, who is actually tonight to answer any questions. They also perform the arborist services, crowding and uphill health. And as Jamie mentioned, the plan right now is to not propose a pool or a space. Happen down the road or not. The house is utilizing some fire resilient materials, so they're all hard material, stuccos, fire retardant membrane roof, the stone, of course, as well. We worked with Woodside Fire as Jimmy proposing for the site and trying more screening to work along the southwest property line. Unfortunately, given the requirements of Woodside Fire, it's a additional tree, but as happy to work with the neighbor to find a species that I think Forrest had mentioned that maybe a live oak would be better in his opinion. We're also happy to work with him to locate that tree in a nice manner to maybe put the canopy in the right spot, try to screen out more of the views. And as Jamie mentioned, we have been approached by the neighbor with concern about some glare from the western setting sun, although we do have some deep overhangs in the property. Acknowledge his comment and have agreed to some glare coatings on the western windows project. We did get a chance to meet with one of the neighbors of the property as highlight location. These are all fairly small skylights that are in fairly private parts of the house, so they're in bathrooms and with 2 skylights that do come down into kind of a small sitting area that's outside of the area in the bed. So largely probably pretty dark skylights in the grand scheme of it. So I think that's sort of the gist. We are using some advanced construction methods. We hope to minimize the disruption of the site and make the construction schedule sustainable construction methodologies, which is kind of my work for the last 25 years. So look forward to the conversation this evening and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of?
Yes.
Okay.
Fencing gates? Are there any fencing or gates proposed
As of right now, no.
as of right now?
As far as I'm aware, there's no intent.
Okay,
Property.
okay, good.
Just as a note, there is a small gate that is at one of the nothing out at the perimeter of the property.
And do the skylights have covers?
Not as of now, but we're happy to enter.
Okay, thank you.
And we talked at the site about the clear story, some tinting or kind of get rid of the halo, the radiant. There's something you could do with that.
Sure, we could coat the windows or them, or we could provide a brise soleil or
I
a
think
screen.
just to keep the radiant light from, put my hands in my pockets, to keep the radiant light from just out for everybody up on the hill. I think
Sure.
it would be a nice thing.
Yeah, we could tint it, or we could provide an anti-glare.
And it's also in keeping what we've done with that style in other places in Timber.
Yeah, we wouldn't disagree with that.
Okay.
Jana, any questions?
I do have a question about the sighting, actually. And I understand the orientation. I'm curious about like the positioning of the spa and sort of how a lot of the outdoor spaces are sort of oriented toward the house at the east side. That seems pretty visible. But I was just thinking, I think you did a nice job of describing the layout of the house. It might be nice to have you take us through kind of how you went about the positioning on the site and, you know, placing the house where you did. I mean, other than obviously utilizing where there's flat space, but kind of within that area.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it starts. The site does not have fantastic soil, so property. The primary form of the building is basically in the large flat section, which where the old house is located. So we didn't really want to disrupt further. As you may have seen, Gina, the main focus of this home is to try to catch that view comes out of the sort of southeastern sort of the southeastern part of the property. So we've designed the living area, sort of secondary living space around kind of a central court, which really is framing that view. So that really orients the primary two axes of the home, for kind of drawing the X and Y. And so that kind of kicks it all off. Obviously, we did not want to build a substantially large driveway into the site, so we're at access point in the effort to keep one of the larger oaks. And so we've moved that driveway apron northeast bit by about 10 so. The ADU is sort of in an obvious spot away from the living area of privacy on the far side of the garage. We did not have to account for a large fire truck turnaround by pushing in this location and keeping it closer to the front of the building. So amount of paving and pervious area is minimized, coordinated with Woodside Fire for the driveway back out distance necessary to reach around both sides of the structure. I think there was, some intent that the backside of the garage and the gym, as well as two of the bedrooms, have a small private garden space, which is in the northeastern corner of the site. And then also, again, the other bedrooms having some access western side of the property. Sorry, I misspoke. The western side of the house is the quiet garden from the outside of the gym and bedrooms. The other west-facing patios. I think the spa is kind of away from all of the view, very screened by trees, those that face onto the side of the property. That spa location was sort of away with a little bit of screening trees around it. Sort of felt like the right spot. You should want to have it outside of master bedroom area. So it kind of is accessed off of the secondary living space. And it does keep the center area potential, as James from the geotech analysis, that could be a pool in the future. That's not part of the current proposal for the project, but I think if one built a pool, it would be probably in the center of that view area out of that courtyard space. So that preserves that opportunity for in the long run should she such an endeavor.
Thank you.
I have a question. On the planning of the house, was there a reason that it wasn't longer in its long axes towards the flat ground that to the south and west of the house. Instead, it seems like the house has gotten fat, in the, perpendicular to, the contours. Yeah, yeah, the long axis, the house is, generally oriented, parallel to the contours, but, particularly since you're cutting down, so many of the oaks, it seems like there's a missed opportunity, to take more of the house to the south and west, in that vacant ground where the yellow tree or shrubs, and would allow more flat ground, in the view, on the view side of the house, that is currently being occupied by the master.
I'm unable to hear.
Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, like I said, I think we have infrastructure that's kind of getting in that direction. Have some yard space that's out there that by the family at some in time. I think it again, it starts with kind of the primary viewpoint, which is hard area with.
Yeah, the question, was that if the master bedroom were pulled more back into the main building and the bedrooms were pushed out, then here's where the root of my question is that the landscape solution, all the wall, on the view side, seems like a much more urban response, than a rural response. Because a lot of those walls, are, you know, 6, 8 feet above natural grade. I know you're filling, below those, to reduce their apparent height. But it just seems like a lot of cost, a lot of on-site building, you know, uh, you know, because you're trying to take, the modular building form, is intended to improve, uh, the quality of the building, the factory build, reducing the amount of time on site. But, the conflagration of that many walls, so close together, doesn't create a lot of space, where if if more of the building weren't there, then you could end up being on the ground, and having more flat space on the views, where in this design, all of the flat space, man-made. And I'm just, asking, consider, you know, because it almost looks like the plan wasn't real.
Sure. I mean, I think the problem is that as you move further west, you get behind not removing the property. As we continue to occupy that flat area, we just lose more view. So I think that was probably the idea. This is the design that we ended up with. Were sort of where the owners were looking to land. I understand the wall assemblies. Obviously, there is complexity and cost associated with that, but I think it aligns well to the architectural proposal for the project, and helps us kind of contain the landscaping. I think the idea is landscape is rampant throughout the entire site, but that the natural quality of the site remains.
Thank you. I've got some questions, or would like, a discussion, members of the Conservation Committee, here. And I wondered if you wanted to talk about the tree.
Yeah, there we go.
Hi, Nona.
Hi, I'm Nona Chariot. Sorry, I couldn't be at the site review this afternoon. But I heard about it and I heard that, there was concern that we approved 65 tree removals. Did you read our report? We approved 7 removals of significant trees, one of which I believe has been restored because the driveway was moved back a ways. Did you read the arborist report?
I'm concerned that the arborist report. So I'm concerned.
I don't know if that's the case. We did meet with the landscape architect when 4 members of our committee did the site review for our report. There were, as I recall, and so this is from my memory from January, I think there were about 200 trees on the arborist, and very few of them had a rating, a retention value greater than fair. I think there were 23 significant trees among those, and we approved removal of 7 of them. There was some discrepancy in a table, so there may have been 6 rather than 7, plus 1 redwood stump. A lot of the trees on the property were in decline. When we went there, several of them had died since the arborist report and had fallen over. There were also a number of olive trees and cherry trees and a large stand of coast live oaks that were planted in essentially a vegetable garden arrangement. We saw no reason to object to their removal, but the total number of trees we removed wasn't given at that time.
Okay.
So as the only tree that we had, I think, a significant regret about approving was the tree that was going to be removed because the driveway, we were told, needed to be moved. And if that tree has been which hadn't happened as of either the first review or the follow-up review, then we're very happy to hear that.
Okay.
Our recommendations were to increase the number of native trees on the site, and they followed that recommendation. We recommended removing all of the plantings along the right-of-way because they weren't consistent with Portola Valley or West. And we actually recommended moving the manzanitas from the bioretention swale to the drier area and putting the California sycamore in the bioretention swale since the moisture. So I understand that you were very concerned about the number of trees, but I don't know how they relate.
Okay, thank you. Move on to public comment for this issue. Is there any public comment today? No one in the room? Any online?
Rita Combs, you're allowed to speak. Gomez.
Hi, Rita Comas Whitney, and just want to let you know that there were several neighbors that looked at the plans. I'm at 300 West Ridge, and there were several neighbors around me that met at my house to look over the plans and to see what we thought of it and how it was going to fit in our immediate neighbors in our neighborhood. And glad to have something being built there after a couple of tries. And and we had a few comments that I then talked to people from the West Ridge Committee and also to the architect about. But sorry that the people above and the people on the side, not in our immediate area, did not. This is in no way, our comments were in no way opposed to what they would see as far as light spillage or whatnot. But we're looking forward to that property being taken care of and built on. The only comment that came out of everything was about the ADU being so close to the other neighbor's property line, but I know that's just California law, but there was a concern about that. Thank you.
Anyone else, Emily?
Belle Yostra, you're allowed.
Hi, thank you. And thanks everyone for your work here. Looks lovely. I'm at 187 Cervantes, and so we have we're just sort of staring out at those story poles. So we're above and kind of diagonal. And so what I would expect to be the sort of side or rear of the house, I did not get a chance, I couldn't attend today. And so I'm sort of squinting at the plans, trying to figure out what kind of screening and light leakage will come out of that side. My guess is it's not really an interesting view to you, but it would be a meaningful sort of break for us from what is currently just the sort of sea of oaks. And as we look out to the bay and to the East Bay, from our kitchen area and our family room area. So I would just love to advocate for some sensitivity to that aspect of the project.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Emily?
No other members of the public.
Okay. Thank you. Anna, would you start, please?
Thanks for the site visit today. It's interesting, and I think it's high time that, I like that it is, I like the plan. I like the architecture. My issue was really about the oaks today, just that there were so many, but I understand why. I also want to keep some of the younger oaks because their generation is a different generation of oaks. So we can't leave all the semi-mature oaks and cut all the babies out. We need to leave some babies. Okay. I also agree with, I think all the all that landscaping. When we were up at the site, you said in flowers on the road, and it's like, we don't do flowers. Especially along West Ridge. So I think that needs to retain its character of just pasture land with oaks in it. And you can landscape up, near the house, not on the road. It's, it dismays me that they don't live here. So I even with 3 laundry rooms, it would be nice if they had a closed. It just kind of, I think we live differently. That being said, it's their design, and got a lot of kids who will be, I understand that. The other part of the landscape plan, I didn't really get a handle on screening trees. I think you said they were planning on blue oaks at one point. There are no blue oaks there. It's not a blue oak community. So I think that it'd probably be better to stay with live oaks. You know, they're not as interesting, but you know, I think if we're going to be removing so many trees and people are worried about looking, we should probably use live oaks. And, you know, I think the rest of it, you know, the planting plan is interesting. I mean, I'm a huge buckwheat person. Are you the landscape architect? No, yes, no, you are. Okay. I mean, there's some great stuff. It's just not on the road. So, okay. So I'm going to wait and hear what everybody else has to say, jump back in. But, you know, those are my initial comments.
I think the landscape architect is on Zoom if we want.
Pardon?
I think the landscape architect's on Zoom if we want to talk to him.
Oh,
Maybe able
well,
to
I
talk to him.
just like, it's a wonderful list. It just can't be, it can't be decorating the road. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Lance?
I also like the plans and I like uh, it does sit for such a large property, the way it sits, it's kind of, feels like it's kind of on the road a little more than it might need to be. And there might be a way to push it back a little bit, push a little bit more towards the Project West, I guess, southwest, west. And maybe make that face of the house a little less strong on the road. And maybe give them a little bit more private space in the back. Just a thought, but I realize you're probably well into design of. It would probably be a lot of unwinding to do that, but if not, that would be my thought. I'll stop there. The other questions I already asked about.
Dana?
I, looking at the driveway, one thing just to consider is how easy it is to get out of the, back out and really get out of the driveway. And also, if there is a larger group, just thinking about accommodating parking for that, it just, again, it feels like there's not a lot of spare room for, people to even kind of pull up closer to the house or park and still be able to get out of the garages or the garage spaces and get out. The other thing that maybe is a question for everyone is, I know there was some discussion of tinting windows, but I mean, is just providing some sort of shading on the interior. I mean, if the thought is concern that at night when the lights are on, it's going to be out. I mean, can they do shading as opposed to probably complex, or maybe not that shades are inexpensive when they're way up in a clear, but just, allowing for different alternatives for blocking light rather than, going to tinting and messing with the glazing on the window. Yeah, I think that those are my main comments. I mean, I think being out there, the height feels pretty good and the massing feels nice, with in relation to everything else around.
Jenna? Okay, my comments are really around site planning, which I feel, we are too late, to try to make any, significant moves. Really because of, planning process, that, the town and the consultants fronted us with. I would have liked the garage to be moved, to preserve, the two significant oaks, that are in the footprint, garage and the fitness room. I think the other significant note outside, the master suite, if the planning had taken into account of those 3 trees, would have a much different plan. I agree with you, Gina, that I don't think there's enough vehicular maneuvering space or enough parking space. If this house is going to have, house in the ADU, there's likely to be at least, associated with that. And right now with, the 3-car garage and 1 carport, I don't think there's adequate space. I feel the house pushes too far towards the view side. I would have liked to see, an alternative, that made the house less fat and more. I think though other bedrooms would be benefited, by having views. Instead of, looking back out to the west, which is going to be a sun side. I agree with, the other comments, regarding the landscaping. But I have difficulty, with this. I did have a chance to review issue dates. They'll be on your drawings, and I can see, where you've been, how we got here, without any preliminary. Terrence, somehow we have to get a chance, to see this before there's this much invested, in a design. Because the ASCC is hamstrung, to suggest any significant changes other than, micromanagement of lighting, and landscape. Toby, you said that there's no exterior lighting, beyond, the eaves of the building. But
Correct.
the landscape plan, outside, has a lot of steps. And I would anticipate, that you're going to want, all of those steps to be lit, in order to maneuver, around those. Can you talk to me about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, that's not the proposal. I think we understand the lighting issues and are looking forward to a dark house. I think those stairs are largely maintenance and access style stairs. I don't know that we're circulating around this building a whole lot at night. It hasn't come up as a significant topic for us. There are budget limitations on this project, so we are not contemplating architectural lighting throughout all of the walls, and lighting can get fairly complex, as Nancy and I talked about. So, as of right now, these are, a way of moving around the structure, but for the part, you can navigate around without having to use the stairs. So,
How are you going to get to the?
well, we've got light coming out of the house. So again, right now, the plan was not to propose any additional lighting. I think, this is maybe something that would have to be revisited. We would be back here in front of, but, to get to this spa is 2 steps.
5 steps.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5. There's a group of 3 and a group of 2. 5 steps.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're not, as of right now, it's not, there's no light.
Okay. And what's the purpose for the long path across the end?
Not sure I'm following the long path.
This long path. It goes from the patio by the spa, over.
Oh, just to connect those 2 without going across the lawn area. From the outdoor to
And there's another set of. Okay. Those are my comments. Any further discussion you guys want to talk? Go ahead, Nona. You want to come up here?
I just wanted to, thanks for taking additional comments. I just wanted to note that there are actually blue oaks on the property. There are 10 of them, I think. And both we and the arborist were concerned that they were experiencing stress because of the presence of, and we encouraged moving the septic leach farther away from those oaks since they don't tolerate septic influx very well. And we were advised that where they are located is intended area for field, not the primary leach field. The reason we think that it would be important to retain them is that it's a naturally occurring stand, we think, although it's in decline, but that's because of the impacts from the previous house. But also, we're seeing a lot of death of coast live oaks from sudden oak death. And so we like the idea of promoting more diversity when it's natural and appropriate for that. So if those blue oaks can be retained, I think that would be great.
Were the blue oaks measured? Because they have a different diameter for removal for significant trees. They are significant.
And they're not scheduled.
Okay,
Anna, they're not marked for.
good. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, I walked around today kind of looking for blue oaks and
I know. They don't look great, but I think, under the right. They might do fine. And
I
they-
hope
they
so.
do-
Yeah.
so, Thanks.
They're over the breakover and down the hill a ways.
The east.
Yeah.
Okay. Down in there. All right.
They're identified. It's tree 61.
Awesome. I'm glad they have them.
I see the landscape architect is, yeah, I'm sure she's got something to say.
Diana, you're allowed to speak.
Hi there.
Ah,
Thanks so much for having us. So, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to address some of the concerns in the landscape that have been mentioned. The meeting with the Conservation Committee was really helpful in understanding, the native biodiversity that's on the site and, the concerns as far as Portola Valley maintaining natural character and views from the street. So the right-of-way planting was pulled back. So if you look at the landscape drawings, it's actually about 30 feet from the edge of pavement from the road. So the intent there was to, in addition to providing more defensible space and accommodating the bridle easement, to kind of have that planting act as a transition from the natural understory below the existing oaks. And as you're entering the property through the driveway, the more sort of like residential character, but not have it impact as directly the views from the road, because we understand that it's important not to have super garden-like plantings right up against the road. And then like Toby was saying, we're happy to work with the neighbors, any neighbors that have views to the property on the species, but to, I think, Nona's point, if we can keep that a blue oak, that'd be helpful for diversity, since a lot of the blue oaks on the site are impacted by the septic and not looking great. It might be nice to add a few, but certainly if, the priority is from far away, maintaining a more continuous looking canopy, even though defensible space means we can't pack a ton of screening trees in there. That could be a coast live oak. That's fine too. But yeah, certainly it's a challenge because of there's a 30-foot we met with fire, and so the 30-foot clearance from the property line means that we can't put, a lot of additional trees along the property line or the property's edge, to provide more screening for the neighbors that are upslope and south of the property. But we certainly have looked and put as many trees and as many native trees as we can in the available openings, and worked to site those as much as possible to help provide screening and maintain a natural view from outside the property into the property.
Thank you. Any other discussion from you all? Someone got a motion?
No, I don't. I was just gonna say, wow. A lot to process. Do we need to talk?
Presentation that came to us.
Well, I think, so going back to kind of general comments, maybe one a comment of yours, Dana, was the landscape along the street where Diana's saying they pulled it back. I mean, one thought there is, it does still have, I know it won't look like a hard line of exactly where the step back is, quality, but you kind of get that with the way that, is there a recommendation to just sort of soften that or make that edge feel a little more organic along the street side where it's so.
I think it should be eliminated,
Okay, you want to.
the whole thing. I mean, I think it should just, be like all the other properties, verges in pasture land with oaks. And maybe there's a toyon here or there, or a buckwheat. But I think that edge is just very, it's not natural.
As drawn, it does appear abrupt, but
Pardon?
as it's drawn, it appears there's probably a way to blend that.
Yes, I think that there could be islands of kind of through here, but not a straight line at the street.
Mhm.
Just, 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there.
So soften and create more clusters.
And maybe keep more of the existing. There's a slew of trees being removed, right there in front of the house.
And I do think some of the small ones should be retained for the generational experience of oaks. So we need some small oaks because they're going to grow and they're going to fall over. And so I think we should keep 4 or 5 of the little ones, And all of that up there.
What about all these? There's a lot of trees in the right of way that are proposed to be taken down.
Leave some of those. Would we ever want to through with conservation or with the landscape architect?
That'd be a good suggestion.
I think it might be. Since we haven't been able to have our hands on this project, I feel very strongly about the expression of this front. This looks very artificial.
I appreciate the issue about these somehow in a garden. I'm less concerned about that, except that right now those trees, are providing pretty significant screening from those uphill neighbors down towards the side of the master bedroom. With all these that are being removed, is we've got this uphill neighbor and we've got the uphill neighbor further up here.
Mhm.
seems like, you know, you could find some in there, you know, instead of just clear cutting the whole mess.
Mhm.
This needs to be massaged a little bit. Anxious about emotion. And I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, do you want to continue dates with? You know, additional site reconnaissance? You know, with the landscape architect and the Fish Independence, Conservation Committee. So we could, yeah, talk about these 65 trees.
This is a big project.
These, for this property,
I know.
those are town trees. Including this one for the drive.
At the public right of way, you know, where we saved the big oak tree. Where we, today, you remember, you were there.
Yeah.
So I assume that's what you're looking at, because that's the public right of way, and there are about 10 or 11 little, what I would call small crippled trees, which are in the public right of way. Therefore, there is a fire, probably a fire issue, and they have no value there because they are covered by the big oak tree. And so we always recommend to look after the big oak trees, and the little one that from the seeding to take those out, because otherwise everything is being stymied. So we recommend that even, I know exactly which tree.
I know, I get it. I mean, the reach, it gets crowded, but like I said, I think it's important to leave some of them. Some of them for.
But they're not healthy. They are all sort of crippled and
Well,
unhealthy.
I gotta study
It's just,
I mean, there must be a few healthy ones
not
of the
really.
little ones. I don't know. I need to study the plan.
What do y'all think? You know, that idea.
Well, I'd like suggestions to be additive. I don't want it to become punitive.
Yeah, I know.
So
We're happy to bring the land. We can do that separately.
Or a couple of us, you know, could interface, you know, with them on the landscape plan, you know, so that they can move forward. I want you to move forward.
Yeah.
I'm anxious about this entry situation.
Well, I guess, I'm wondering if we could make, I mean, we've done this before where it's a condition of approval is to have a subcommittee review of the landscape plan, for instance, with the recommendation to
I'd be comfortable with that.
modify the front and, you know, soften things and
We
talk
come
through
back with the landscape. plan.
goals. Yeah.
And a couple of us would interface with,
We would like that so that
yeah. Yeah,
recognize that separate. Ask and bring the potential lighting
Yeah.
plan back to you.
Mhm.
well, let's put
You
all
wanna
that in
speak?
motion. Or,
take a crack at it.
yeah. I'll just end up with cracked eggs, I'm afraid. Conditional approval with pending the outcome of a meeting with the subcommittee and the landscape and
We would need the ASCC to specify one member or two members, please.
I think it would be
Thanks.
2.
Yeah.
Any volunteers for the 2?
I will.
I'm happy to
Tina,
do
do you
it.
have time or not really?
I can make time. I mean, if you want to do it, you should.
I'd be happy to,
Okay.
you can take the next one. So I guess Dana and I,
Yes,
subcommittee to work with
Okay.
landscaping and
let's try to get it done soon.
So,
Do it as soon as you can.
so yeah, so maybe for the motion, it would to approve with a modified lighting and landscape. site plan or site visit to be conducted with the landscape architect and the conservation committee.
Okay. I will second that.
Well said.
It's the,
And just to be part of the motion, that the members would be
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Breen and Commissioner Bond.
all in favor? Signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Nay.
You're a nay.
I just think that this, it's a great site. But I don't think parking and but, and I'm disappointed, the number of significant tree. I mean, every significant tree close to the house is gone. Doesn't mean any recognition about, them being there. That's fine, they can come to the meeting. Okay, I voted no.
Okay,
Let's move
all
on.
right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, Jim. Next item is 3B, site development, view for landscape improvement at 125 Golden Oak. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Paul Catlanzi, consultant planner with the town. And the second item for you tonight is the site development permit for landscape improvements, hardscape improvements, and associated site improvements at 125 Golden Oak.
Can you speak up, please?
Apologies about
Thanks.
that. So this is for the project at 125 Golden Oak. So shown here is the vicinity. The property, subject property is located on Golden, which offshoots off Alpine Road. This is on the side of town. Shown here is the existing site plan project. The area of the proposed landscape improvements are shown in gray, and all the existing structures on the property, including the main house, the guest house, and the existing studio in the rear yard are, and there are no changes involved with the scope of those buildings project. Shown here is the proposed site plan for the project. There are two main areas of the landscaping improvements. There's the area indicated by the blue match line, which is mainly the front terrace, the driveway entry into the parking court, and the second sort of area we'll look at is area to the rear, which includes the upper terrace and pool patio, as well as the stairway to the existing deck in the rear yard. So shown here is a zoomed in version of the area indicated by the blue match line. Starting at the bottom left is the renovated front terrace area with an outdoor living space. As we move to the right, there is front terrace. Right above there is the proposed garden wall. And then further to the right, there's a new concrete driveway and parking court renovation. And then to the right of the parking court are proposed landscape walls and retaining wall. To note, all the landscape walls within the side setback comply with the town standards for I'm sorry, I forgot to mention we're taking a look at a couple of the site sections here. So the site section in red facing plan north, and the site section in green facing plan east. So the site section at top, facing plan north, is looking toward the back of the parking court, the landscape walls proposed. And then the bottom section looking toward site east at the landscape walls near the side of the property. So this is the rear section of the proposed work, which includes the entry pathway to the rear yard, leading into a stairwell, as well as the upper terrace and then pool patio area. And the landscape and retaining walls are located at the rear of this area along the end of the pool. And then along the right-hand side, there are proposed renovations to the stairwell to access the accessory structures. And the side section indicated in red facing plan north. The green section is facing plan west. So this is the section facing west, where the staircase to the rear upper terrace is visible, as well as the pool and spa patio. Shown here is the side section facing plan north, including the concrete form walls at the rear, as well as a smooth finish seat wall. And then to the right-hand side, improvements to the stairs. The proposed colors and materials for the hardscape primarily natural colors and material and comply with the town's standards for light reflectivity values. The materials include natural stones and boulders, as well as board form concrete walls. The project does trigger a AACC review site development permit. There are 820 cubic yards of landscape cut and fill. This is primarily to facilitate the landscaping improvements on site, as well as hardscape improvements. Overall, shown here is the proposed landscaping and site conditions. The project includes site paths, the parking court, full patio area, front and upper terrace, site drainage improvements, and native planting. The proposed plantings for the project include primarily native plantings. They are proposed in natural groupings and are primarily shrubs, grasses, and ground covers. And the project does comply with the town's WELO ordinance as it utilizes 75% of the maximum applied water. There are 2 tree removals proposed as a part of the project. There is one non-significant pine tree removal along the driveway for fire safety reasons. And there is a deceased coast live oak proposed removal as well. Shown here is the exterior lighting plan for the project. The project does include 5 different fixture types for lighting, including a well light for path lighting throughout the site, step lights primarily for the stairs in the rear yard, pool lights for the spa and pool, and shielded bollards for a couple of the living spaces throughout the site. Downlights are also included at the pedestrian bridge entry from the rear path to the main home. The lighting does comply with all the town's standards, including lumens, color temperature, minimum separation distance for path lighting, etc. The project was noticed to all property owners within a 300-foot radius on or before June 13th, and the applicant has conducted their own neighbor outreach. To date, no public comments have been received. Staff's recommendation is that the AC do and approve the development permit, landscape improvements, hardscape improvements, and associated site improvements, 125 Golden Oak, subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation. I am available to answer any questions as well as the project applicant.
Is the applicant here? Come on up, please. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Paul. My name is Kira Goodman. And on Zoom, we have the homeowner as well as Megan Roush. She's our here. For any of us, I'd just like to note three kind of. So the first into their renovated house and are really excited to use off of the living and they love the natural beauty of the property, the live oaks in particular, the golden. The second thing I wanted to mention was the safe access to the site was a primary motivator for the project. And the enlarged parking court to create safe access when you enter the property is very important, as well as opening up the upper terrace between upper level of the house where their parents might live in the and creating kind of safe passage between the structures on the property through some outdoor lighting. And those are kind of the primary motivators of the property, of the project. So let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff or the applicant from the AS? Go ahead,
Well,
Lance.
I can say the security cameras work. Thank you. We got to meet a couple of our prompt responding sheriffs.
Yeah, so was a little
That's fine.
over caution there, but
That's okay. It's all good.
we
Well-
weren't notified there was gonna be one visiting, so.
It's fine.
Lucky they didn't come when I was up there because I had to back down,
Oh, that would have been hazardous.
cracked right into them.
That's one reason why we're hoping to enlarge the footprint.
Yeah.
So I was looking, while I was there, I looked over the breakover of the new front terrace. And it looks like you have a little bit of a wall detailed there. Anything else? Because it looks like that's, while it was under construction, I was driving turbidity in the water coming down from the side. So I think that soil wants to move.
Yeah, we have a lot of measures improve the site drainage and to capture it and direct it, dissipate it. So we plant along the hill in areas where there might be runoff to restore that.
Thinking,
Better drainage situation.
well, I think both drainage and then anchoring, because it seemed like there was, just seemed like it was moved over and packed and might want to move 6 or 8 feet off that front of that terrace. I don't know. It just looks like there's a small, maybe a small wall tucked in there, but that's all.
Yeah, the idea is to leave the hillside mainly natural, but to add that retaining doesn't have to
Okay.
off that kind of sitting area.
Any other questions?
No question.
Is there any public comment? None in the room.
Giving folks another moment online. Apparently no hands are raised.
Lance, would you start, please?
Sure. Well, I guess I already opened with my first question. Uh, I think I'm done. I'm fine.
Thank you.
Dana?
I really don't. Any comments except that it seems like it's gonna be difficult to build with the grade change and excavating, but I hope you guys can make it happen.
We didn't talk about construction staging on the last one. This one, I mean, I think construction staging is going to be difficult. And I love the dead tree,
Beautiful, huh?
the one coming at the driveway. I just think it's cool. Anyway, you might consider keeping it, for the woodpeckers. But no, I don't have anything to add. I'm glad you put the swimming pool lights in the right place. I mean, I always kind of go straight for that to make sure they're not shining at the neighbors. So it was nice that you did that.
Thank you.
I just think this significantly challenging site. Not sure how the driveway ever got, as steep as it is. I measured it, at over 60%. And it's, to me, it's just scary. I don't have a problem, with, the site planning. I think probably too many lights. The one set of lights that I think probably has the most offset potential for offsite impact, are the series of step lights coming all the way down. And I'd like to suggest, an alternative, that is mounted on the posts, that is about every third step, that faces towards the pool, or back towards the house. Other than that, I don't have any concerns other than, how to get it done.
I would support that reduction in lighting.
So is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented with conditional on redirecting the lights for the landscaping easement, not
No,
egress
the
lights,
guest house.
guest house steps.
Yeah.
There's also there's gonna be some lights somewhere around the front patio porch, I bet.
There are.
They showed them. They're up in that.
They're hanging.
Okay,
Are you talking about this one?
yes,
Yeah, those had, I think they were called there were just 4.
all right.
For me, it was just the guest. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion's
Yay.
approved 4-0.
Thank you.
Tell the other things. Good to know they're on top of it.
They're very skeptical. Commission and staff report. Don't have any. Anybody here?
Nothing.
Parents, do you have anything?
I do, briefly. I want to assure the commission that we are in fact indicating to every applicant that there is the opportunity to have an informal early review of projects. We're not going back to projects that have been submitted some time ago, but as projects come in, we're making it even prior to having a formal process established, we are indicating, as the commission had discussed, we're indicating that there's an opportunity for early discussions, and we'll continue to do that. In addition, wanted to just bring it to your attention that I believe since we last met, at least when I attended, the housing element has been recertified, and staff has proposed funding in the budget coming up that the town council will be considering on Wednesday night. funding to amend the housing element to remove the Dorothy Ford site and replace it with other sites. So assuming that the budget is approved for that amount, we're going to be getting right on that because that is what we discussed with the state, that we would be recertified, but we would put energy to replacing that site. So I just wanted to inform the commission and the community of that. Otherwise, I have no other comments.
Thank you.
Can I just add one thing? So Terrence and Emily and Brandon, who I think isn't here or remote, I had sent over my draft and I never heard back from anybody, and it didn't make it onto the agenda. So I would like to keep moving. So I was hoping to get someone's eyes on it, just if there were any additional comments. And then Brandon had told me also that he would distribute it to, because I can't myself, send it to
Right.
them because of the Brown Act, but he was going back and so just a revival of that would be appreciated.
Thank you. I'll check into that.
Yeah.
We do have one person for public comment. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Christy C., you're allowed to speak.
Yeah, I was noticing the property up the street on Golden Oak could be close to a mountain lion area. And I know we've been talking about fencing. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That Golden Court area and down that gully. The mountain lions have been known to drink out of pools in the middle of the night up on that area. So it's something to keep in mind when this body is approving things. My other comment would be, I was not informed because of 300 feet away and it was 1 foot short. It's not this project, but other projects across the street and up one. And I would like to propose a 500-foot notice or even 1,000 feet notice, because 300's not really working for neighbors. And a lot's going to start happening in our community, and we want people informed because we're better than not informing, as the state might want us to not inform. But I appreciate being informed. But I was saddened to have to discover something on my own versus, so our lots are say 1.2 acres. Well, you might inform one person next to you because of the 300 feet. And I think we need to reconsider it. Thank you.
We have minutes, which is the next item. The draft minutes of April 4th. I think the agenda, our packet was 300 and some pages
311.
for 2 items.
This,
We need to clean this down. This is absurd. I didn't have a chance to review. Did you?
all right, let's table the minutes. Approval till the next meeting.
So moved. Without taking exception. Health. Meeting's adjourned.